The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is Magic Round 2024 edition, and it sees the Parramatta Eels take on the Melbourne Storm. Now, that is for the second time in Magic Round history. The first game was played back in 2019 between these two sides, but, you know, it's Magic Round, it's Brisbane, it's going to be a amazing atmosphere up there for sure. And look, it's always good to play up in Brisbane. That is my favourite trip up to Brisbane. Indeed, I will be up there at Magic Round, so come and say good day if you see me out and about. I would love to meet some listeners of the Paracave Podcast, that is for sure. Get a picture with me and we'll chat some footy. And yeah, so it's a great carnival atmosphere at Brisbane for Magic Round, but this is a game day preview between the Melbourne Storm and the Parramatta Eels. And look, let's just go through a bit of the history of these two sides. They have played 44 times, Melbourne holding the advantage, 26 wins to 18 for Parramatta. In the last 10 games, it's 5 apiece for Melbourne and Parramatta, so that's a quite interesting one. In 2021 and 2022, Parramatta won all 4 games that were played. 2023, Melbourne won both games, the season opener, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and the 46-16 win at Marvel Stadium. Now, that game was played at Marvel Stadium due to the Women's World Cup that was being played in football/soccer, whichever you would like to call it, last year in the country. And look, the last time they played at Magic Round, as I said, they've played before in 2019. It was 64-10 in front of 41,612 fans. At Addo Caht double that day, Munster double, and it was the rise of Ryan Papenhuyzen in only his 5th game of first grade. Look, in this game, this current game in 2024, there's only 3 Eels players playing in this game and 4 Storm players that played in that Magic Round game of 2019. Can you guess who the Eels players are? Can you guess who the Storm players are? But looking forward to famous games from over the years. And look, the 1999 prelim final, Melbourne won that one 18 points to 16. Now, I do remember Stuart Kelly having a blinder in that game. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, no doubt Melbourne fans will, but Stephen Kearney, I believe there was an elbow to Jason Smith that I think took him out of the game and really changed the game in that one. 2001, round 20, Parramatta won 54 points to 10, a great win in that year during that special season where they scored point scoring records. And they were just on fire. The offload game was crazy that year, scoring some great tries. The 2007 prelim final won by Melbourne, 26 points to 10. Now, I do believe that Nathan Caht suffered a pec injury in that game to a bit of a dubious tackle. Could have potentially been the birth of the chicken wing tackle that caused that pec injury to Nathan Caht, and that game was played at the Telstra Dome, or Marvel as it is known now. I think that was when they were going through the transition period from Olympic Park to Amy Park when that was being built. So Melbourne were playing their games at Marvel Stadium. 2009 Grand Final in front of 82,538 fans. Now, that was obviously won by Melbourne, 23 points to 16. Now, we all know what happened in 2010. We don't need to go back there. Obviously, the salary cap drama for Melbourne. But in that game, Fui Moi Moi scored one of the greatest grand final tries ever. If you haven't seen it, go back on YouTube, have a look at Fui grand final try. Check that one out. It is one that should be brought up every year on grand final week because it's a great run. I think it's about 30 odd metres out and he scores in the corner. But also during that game, there was a dubious penalty, I thought, for I think it was like a leg grab, and Melbourne kicked the goal to skip ahead there in that game. 2017 qualifying final, Melbourne won 18 points to 16. Now, there's always a lot of controversy in these games played between these two sides, I reckon anyway, but I believe that there was a forward pass in that Melbourne's first try. Will Smith, he scored a great try for Parramatta on that day. He was playing fullback and it was an inside ball from Mitchell Moses, and Will Smith went through untouched. Now, the other try that was dubious in that game was to Kenny Bromwich, and I think it was that one, and Cooper Cronk. It was sort of like a bit of a handoff, and it looked like he handed it forward, and anyway, it was a bit of a clunky sort of a try, and then anyway, Melbourne scored that one. Disappointing result for Parramatta, obviously in 2017 after 2016 salary cap drama. They got into the top four and they looked like they were going to win this game in 2017 and move forward into week 2 of the finals, I think it was. Into week 3 of the finals, the prelim final of that year, obviously being the qualifying final and finishing in the top 4. So they didn't win that game. 2021 round 2, Parramatta won 16 points to 12. That was played at CommBank Stadium. Micah Sivo scored a double on that day. Let's hope he scores a double even more on Sunday. Round 24 of that year, 2021, Parramatta won 22 points to 10. Now, that game was played at Suncorp Stadium, so this venue here, so I think this is the third time that Parramatta and Melbourne have played at Suncorp Stadium, and it was a win there to the Parramatta Eels. On that day, Blake Ferguson scored a double for Parramatta to get the win. So, and 2022, look, that round 3 game played down at Amy Park, Golden Point game, and look, what an ending to that game. Ray Stone scored the winning try, and then he did his knee and was out for the year. So, an unfortunate ending to Ray Stone's Parramatta Eels career, but he did get the win for Parramatta on that day. So that was an amazing game. I watched that game in the Paracave and I just went mental. You probably saw me on socials when he scored that try. So that was unbelievable, that game. 2023 round 1, Melbourne got the win on that occasion, 16 points to 12. Now that was the round 1, the season opening game. Harry Grant scored a Golden Point try in that one, and unfortunately Parramatta didn't get the win in that game. Now, as I said, this game is being played at Suncorp Stadium, and it is the first time since 2021 that these two sides have played there. Melbourne hold the advantage, 2 wins to 1, and 110 points to 56 points there for Parramatta in games at Suncorp Stadium. These stats brought to you by Rugby the rugby league project. So if you need any rugby league information, any stats about games, players, etc., just check out Rugby League Project. So congratulations, guys. You do a great job there. You certainly keep myself informed as well. So thank you very much for your contributions there. So head to Rugby League Project if you need to know anything rugby league, players, games, results, records, etc. So thank you very much for that one. Now to 2024 Magic Round, and this game here. So far this year in the competition, Melbourne, they've won their last 4 out of their 5. They went down to the Sharks last week in that amazing game that was played down there at Amy Park. The Sharkies, they got the win. I think their first one in about 14 attempts or 12 attempts, something ridiculous like that. And it was a good win. Now, I think it's back to about round 3. It must have been, round 3 or something like that, 2023, maybe 2022, about how Melbourne, they don't lose back-to-back games. They haven't lost a back-to-back game since then. So I think it was 2023. I think it was early on in the season. So they don't tend to lose back-to-back games, and so they will be hoping not to obviously lose this game. The Eels, they are 1 from 5 in their last 5 games, 1 from 5. So we all know how their Parramatta Eels season is going at the moment. It is not where they want to be. They are 13th on the ladder. They obviously want to be a little bit higher than that on the ladder. So they are struggling at the moment. Obviously, the big out for them has been Mitchell Moses. There was a little bit of talk that he would be back for this Magic Round game to impress New South Wales selectors. That move has been put on hold for at least another week, so he will more than likely come back in round 12 against the South Sydney Rabbitohs in Indigenous round, and he will impress, hopefully, the New South Wales selectors. They have told him that he needs to play a game at least to show them what he has got, to see if that foot is up to standard, and he is more than likely, I think anyway, being the favourite for the New South Wales halfback in the Origin series. But this is not an Origin talk, this is a club football talk. In this season, Melbourne have scored 212 points, Parramatta 171. Points conceded, which is always important because defence wins these games. Melbourne have conceded 163 points, Parramatta 242. Those games most evident were the Dolphins game, the Manly game, and the Canberra game, where the Manly game they didn't score over 40 points, but the Canberra game and the Dolphins game they definitely scored over 40 points. So a little bit of a concern there for Parramatta, their defence. Completion rates, percentage are pretty even, 78 for Melbourne, Parramatta 77. So it is very important to complete your sets. Now, to this game, which is the second game on the Sunday at Magic Round, 4:05 p.m. after the Warriors and Panthers game. It sees the two sides line up like this. We'll start off with the home side, as it is a Melbourne Storm home game. Sua Fa'alongo is the fullback. Now, he is pretty electric, so we're going to have to watch him, obviously. Parramatta, we all saw what he did, I think it was last week or the week before, when he got back into the side with the injury to Ryan Pappenhausen, and it was against the Titans, I think it was. So a great try that he scored as well, and some great runs as well. So have to keep an eye on him. Will Warbrick and Xavier Coates returns from injury. They're the wingers. Remus Smith, Nick Meaney, centres. Cameron Munster, Tyrone Wishart is the halfback. Still no Jerome Hughes. Christian Welsh, Harry Grant, Josh King, Sean Bloor, Eli Katoa, Trent Liero, sorry, I apologise about that pronunciation. Jack Howarth, Tui Kamakamita, Nelson Asafa Solomona, and Alec McDonald are the reserves. Grant Anderson is the 18th man, obviously coached by Craig Bellamy, who signed another contract extension for next year, 2025. So he is still going on one more year for Craig Bellamy. I think it's like his 23rd season in charge or something like that with the Melbourne Storm. So that is unbelievable. Now to the Parramatta Eels, and as I mentioned before, still no Mitchell Moses in the halfback role, but at fullback, Blaze Talangi, who had a great game against the Brisbane Broncos last week, running for over 200 metres, scored a try, a couple of line breaks as well, so he had a great game there back at fullback, so hopefully this clash against Whaolonga will be an interesting one there. Micah Sivo in the winger position. Now, as a Parramatta fan myself, I didn't agree with him being in the side last week, but he has retained his spot this week. My personal opinion is I thought that he probably should have come back through New South Wales Cup for his indiscretion a few weeks ago against Manly. But he's been named. Will Penasini, Sean Russell are the centre combination, same one as last week. Deja Arce comes into the side at 5'8", replaces Ethan Sanders. Now I find that one a difficult one as well. Obviously Arce has been playing pretty good in New South Wales Cup to get a recall, but I didn't think that Ethan Sanders deserved to be dropped from that 5'8" position. I thought he should have been playing halfback anyway, and Dylan Brown back to 5'8", but Coach Brad Arthur has gone the other way, kept Dylan Brown at halfback while Mitchell Moses is out. But I would have kept Sanders in the team anyway as well. Just look, I know he's going to Canberra next year, but just give him more first grade experience. And I didn't think, sure, he probably didn't have the best of games last week against the Broncos, but I don't think he deserved to be dropped, so I would have kept him in there. As I mentioned, Dylan Brown, a halfback. RCG, Junior Paulo has been named as captain and prop. Now, maybe there might be a last-minute change into that squad, as we've seen throughout the year. Joe Offahengawi, who's been named on the interchange bench, he may start the game and Junior go back to the bench and come on after about 25, 26, 27 minutes or so. Last week he did a 45-minute straight stint. That included half-time. So maybe that might be the plan as well. Joey Lussick at hooker, Sean Lane, Ryan Madison, Jermaine Hopgood. The interchange bench, Bryce Cartwright returns from a rib injury. Makahesi Makatoa, Joe Offahengawi, as I mentioned, Kelma Tuolagi as well. Brendan Hands is the 18th man. Now, I probably would have put Brendan Hands onto the interchange bench, maybe instead of Makatoa, I think. It's obviously good to see Cardi back, but I probably would have had Brendan Hands on as a instead of Makatoa. I just believe that you need two hookers in this game. You cannot run one hooker through 80 minutes of football. I just think that is too much of an effort. I think Joey Lussick isn't up to that. I don't think so. I would have had Brendan Hands in the squad. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you just disagree with me on that one? So, look, as I said, this is going to be an interesting game. The Melbourne Storm, they sit in third position on the ladder. They go into this game as favourites. Parramatta, 13th, as I said, go in as the outsiders. look, they've got a very skillful 5'8" in Cameron Munster. He loves playing in Queensland, especially at Suncorp Stadium. So he'll be warming up for Origin in a few weeks, but Harry Grant as well. The Queenslanders in this Melbourne Storm squad, they love playing at Suncorp. It is the holy ground of Queensland. They reckon it's the holy ground of rugby league, the Mecca, as you could call it. But they just love playing in front of big crowds, big games. So Cameron Munster is a big game player. And look, the forwards, Katoa, he's been outstanding on the edge there. He scored a try against Cronulla last week. He's having a great season so far. We all saw the Harry Grant penalty and sin bin last week against the Sharks for contact with the kicker's legs. He got found not guilty, and look, that was an absolute joke in my opinion as well. I mean, he wasn't even looking at the Sharks player Daniel Atkinson, and he got penalised and sin-binned and had to fight the charge. So well done to them for fighting the charge. Look, Parramatta are going to have to contain the halves, I think. And look, they're going to have to watch the crossfield kicks to Xavier Coates as well. He's very good in the air. Will Warbrick as well. They are both good leapers in the air. And the crossfield kicks can sometimes catch Parramatta out, but they are very good at that. They are very good finishers, these two Melbourne Storm wingers. They will have to watch that one for sure. And as I said before, Farlongo on at fullback as well. Watch him coming around the back, creating that extra man as well, a little bit like Reece Walsh does for the Brisbane Broncos. And watch his pace as well. From last week, I think it was a much improved effort from the Parramatta Eels against last year's grand finalists. I just don't think they... it was a much improved performance. Just the execution let them down on a couple of try-scoring attempts, and unfortunately that led to drop balls, and unfortunately that led to Brisbane Broncos tries. So hopefully their execution is a little bit better in try-scoring opportunities, and they can get that one right. And the bench gets used right as well. I think, my personal opinion, Sean Lane is not a 80-minute player. I think he should probably get a stint on the bench at some stage. I just think he looks tired sometimes, and I would be probably using him as on the bench. Maybe start off on the bench and then inject him into the game just to see how he goes. He made a few mistakes last week, and probably hasn't had the season that he would want to have. Definitely hasn't had the season that Parramatta fans would want him to have at the moment as well. So I feel like he is under a little bit of pressure as well, but I would probably use him off the bench just to see how he goes. And just getting my words tangled there. Look, score predictions. I think I said on the Talking Para podcast that I am involved in during the week, I think I said 26-20. Now, this will probably shock a lot of you listeners out there. As you know, I'm a massive Parramatta Eels fan. I have tipped the Melbourne Storm to win this game. I hope it is a little bit of reverse psychology, but, you know, I just want to win a tipping comp. So, can Parramatta win this game? Yeah, sure, they can. But they're going to have to do it tough against a well-drilled Melbourne Storm squad. So I think the Melbourne Storm will win 26-20. I think Parramatta will be leading at half-time. They'll be all guns blazing in that first half, and it'll only just be leading. But I think the Melbourne Storm will come away with the victory, unfortunately for me and many others as a Parramatta fan, which will only put more pressure on Coach Brad Arthur, that is for sure. As for first try scorer, I can't remember who I said on the Talking Para podcast as a first try scorer. I may have went my old friend Will Penasini. I think I went him anyway, but there's plenty of first try scorer options out there. I'm not too sure who you will pick, but I mean, Fa'alongo, Warbrick, Xavier Coates would probably have to get a shout for the Melbourne Storm. Blaze Talangi, maybe, Micah Sevo, Bailey Simonson for the Parramatta Eels. I've gone for Will Penasini in that one. But looking forward to this game. As I said, I'll be up there on Saturday, but I'll be at this game as well on Sunday as well. So if you see me out and about, come and say good day. It'll be great to meet some Paracave podcast listeners. And look, I did tip the Melbourne Storm to win, but I really hope that the Parramatta Eels can put a massive effort together. And look, who knows? This could be the upset of Magic Round. You just never know what can happen. Maybe the Parramatta Eels could produce some magic in Magic Round and get the win. So hoping they can, if it means myself gets a tip wrong in the tipping comps. But look, my heart says Parramatta, my head says Melbourne. Let's hope that the Parramatta Eels can prove me wrong. Look, enjoy your footy over the weekend. Enjoy Magic Round. If you are going, enjoy the festivities. It is like a carnival of rugby league. It is good times, lots of celebrations and lots of catch-ups and the like. So it is a great weekend up there in Brisbane. Caxton Street will be going off each and every day. So get involved if you are up there in Brisbane and enjoy your footy. If you're not up there in Brisbane, enjoy watching your footy over the weekend. And look, if you're not a Parramatta supporter, then I hope your team gets up for victory. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. I hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for the following. Please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Share it with your family and friends. Give a 5-star rating and review on the podcast platform that you listen to. And also support the podcast on the social media channels, Instagram and Facebook as well. That would be mostly appreciated. Anyway, this game day preview was by the fan for the fans. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.